Welcome to Purana Talk with the Purana guys.
Yeah, I don't know. Sure. This is Alan, Frick, and Frack. We're reading the Garuda Purana. We're reading the first part of the Garuda Purana, which is real long, and we're on chapter 232. It is subtitled Kulamrta or Jnanamrta. Jnanamrta. I think Kula Amrita is Amrit is like nectar, and sometimes specifically the nectar of immortality. It's a divine concentration of goodness. And Kula usually doesn't that refer to like your lineage or your tribe almost, or the group? So the nectar of the community, or Jnana Amrita. Jnana Amrita is the nectar of knowledge. So apparently it's got two names. Kulamrta or Jnanamrta hymn. Suta said, 1. When he was asked by Sri Narada, Lord Hara, who is Shiva, mentioned this hymn called Kulamrta, otherwise known as Jnanamrta. Jnanamrta. Please listen to it. Narada said, he who is fettered by dvandvas, lust and anger, the auspicious and the inauspicious, and the various objects of the sense organs, sound, etc., and is tortured by them, is necessarily a wretch in this world. Dvandvas are dualities, contradictions. You are plagued by, and by your lusts and your sense organs. You're by necessity you're going to suffer. Essentially, you'll be a wretch in this world if you're bound by these things, if you're controlled by them. O Lord, the slayer of Tripuras, I wish to hear from you the means whereby that creature can be saved quickly from the ocean of death and transmigration. How do we easily get him out of this mess? Maheshwara said, and Shiva. On hearing these words of Narada, the three-eyed deity Shambhu, Shiva, spoke unto the sage, O excellent sage, I shall tell you the great secret mantra and hymn called Jnanamrita that destroys all miseries and removes the fear of bondage of worldly existence. The four types of living beings, beginning with the blade of grass and ending with the four-faced deity Brahma, consisting of the entire universe, the mobile and the immobile, sleeps due to the Maya of Vishnu. If due to the grace of Lord Vishnu anyone among them wakes up, he will cross the ocean of worldly existence, which is impassable even to the gods. It isn't really. It's what you call hyperbole. What do you want?
Oh, there was where he was saying what this mantra did. I think it's 5.
Destroys all, 5. Destroys all miseries and removes the fear of bondage of worldly existence. Grants you liberation from this. From this all. So we're at stanza 8. It is the person who is averse to the acquisition of real knowledge that becomes puffed up due to the enjoyments and prosperity he possesses. Inebriated creatures get entangled in their attachment to sons, wives, and families like the wild elephant sinking below the surface of waters of deluge. I do not find any means of salvation even after 100 crores of births for that wretch who shuts up his mouth and does not sing the Lord's Prayer, like the silkworm in the cocoon. I'm wondering how it is like the silkworm in the cocoon. Going through hundreds of births, and I don't know. Why do you not burst forth like a butterfly? Something like that.
You do.
All right, 10. Hence, O Narada, one shall propitiate the imperishable Lord of all gods. One shall take delight in meditating on Vishnu. The hymn begins here and ends in the 18th verse. He who meditates constantly on Lord Vishnu, the universe form, devoid of beginning and end, the unborn, stationed in his own self, and the omniscient becomes free. A person meditating constantly on Vishnu, holding devas and others within himself, becomes free. He who perpetually meditates on Vishnu, devoid of bodies, the creator, possessed of all knowledge and mental proclivities, the immovable and all-pervading, becomes free. He who constantly meditates on Lord Vishnu, free from doubts and contradictions, devoid of specific manifestations, divested of the created groups, free from ailments and afflictions, Vasudeva, the preceptor of all, becomes free. He who meditates on all manifestations of the sentient soul of the all-pervading, on Vishnu, the auspicious, the single, the imperishable, becomes free. He who meditates constantly on Vishnu, who is beyond the pale of all statements, who knows the three units of time, past, present, and future, who is Lord of the universe, who bears witness to everything, and who is more excellent than all the others, becomes free. He who constantly meditates on Vishnu, served by Brahma and other gods, Gandharvas, sages, Siddhas, Charanas, and Yogins, becomes free. And it reminds us, in case we forgot, in footnote 1 here, a Charana is a wandering actor or singer, a bard.
What verse is that?
16. Charanas, or bards.
Charna.
Yeah, it's spelled C, in transliterated, it's C-A with a line over it, R-A-N with a dot under it, A, and pluralized S. So it's Charana, singular. Okay. Did I read 17? Yes. No. All the people wishing for release from the bondage of worldly existence become free on singing thus the prayer of Vishnu, the granter of boons. Whoever wishes to get release from the bondage of worldly existence shall, with concentration, meditate on Vishnu. He who contemplates on the endless, imperishable Lord Vishnu, established in the universe, the unborn, and the Lord of worlds, becomes free. Suta said, what the bull emblem deity Shiva narrated to Narada on being requested by him, I have now told you. My dear sir, meditating on the Supreme Brahman, the unwasting, the spotless, you shall obtain certainly the eternal and unchanging region. Thousands of horse sacrifices and hundreds of Vajapaya sacrifices do not merit even a 16th part of extremely concentrated devotion even for a moment. After hearing the importance of Lord Vishnu from Shiva, the divine sage propitiated Lord Vishnu devotedly and attained the status of achievement. The sin committed in the course of millions of lives of the person who reads or hears this excellent hymn perishes. He who assiduously reads this hymn constantly of Lord Vishnu, recited by Lord Shiva at first, attains immortality. So here we have another example of, Shiva is in a sense granted the authority to tell the story of Vishnu. From God's lips. It's
from one god's lips to another god's ear, I guess.
Yeah, but
Something like that.
It's interesting how they're accommodating both of the deities. I wonder if there is an intention in here to essentially draw Shivites perhaps into the Vaishnava fold, or vice versa, I suppose.
Or at least, create a dynamic peace between them where Vishnu has a slightly better upper hand or something.
Well, yeah, in this Purana at least.
Yeah.
But there's a mutual respect, and it's kind of interesting.
Well,
even though every now and then they say there's only one God, you got to worship Vishnu.
When they don't really
Veda thumping
give us much to hold on to around this. like Brahma is the subservient one, right? We know that because he comes out of Vishnu's belly button. But what they don't explain is this
It's a little circular because he's the creator
relationship. Like, how does that work?
Yeah,
and they never really explain
they have
that.
Interactions, but and they, yeah, I mean it's an interesting there's an interesting lack of resolution.
If Kali, like in the Mahavidyas, they talk about how Kali is the source of everything, right? And that Vishnu comes out of that.
Yeah, well, depending on what the perspective of the text that you're reading, which god comes out of which god shifts around,
I suppose.
And often there's this sort of notion that even with all these tales of the gods, there's some god above and beyond that's overlooking the scene. And it's like Rudra shows up in the Trimurti, but or Shiva, as you wish,
right.
But the other Rudra is beyond it, also as the great god who is sort of observing. These other gods are really all his manifestations, or they're all Vishnu's manifestations, or in some perspective they're all Krishna's manifestations. Krishna is really, which is kind of an interesting one because Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu, but when Krishna becomes the supreme focus, even Vishnu, it seems to me, as a personification, falls outside of that. Even though I think they recognize he's the same god, it gets messy.
And there's this other, I can't help but associate Vishnu and the chakra with these universal forms where you get, nebulas and stuff like that, or all these circular kind of dynamic.
He signifies a kind of action in the universe, a kind of, I think a natural opening and expanding outward.
Right.
You get creation, destruction, and you have this expansive thing. But, so I think people were looking at sort of the natural patterns of motion and expansion and contraction, whirlpools and...
Well, they couldn't see these things quite the way we do because, we've got telescopes and stuff that they didn't have access to necessarily. But I just see this relationship between something like the Milky Way, that you see this thing, and these stories of Vishnu lying in the ocean, sleeping or whatever.
Yeah.
And wonder if these aren't the same thing sometimes.
Yeah, why not? It's the cosmic dimension represented in the human imagining.
Shiva being the axis, the thing that goes through the chakra or whatever, that makes up and down.
Also Vishnu's finger, it's kind of...
Exactly.
Iconographically, the Sudarshana chakra. Chakra just means wheel. It's not chakra. Come on.
Chakra.
Okay.
Mandala.
Yeah.
Cummerbund.
Oh, come on.
We
know how to pronounce cummerbund and turban.
They know,
like anybody says
turban, that would help them remember how to say it.
But we get confused. Bandana, bandana.
Yeah.
Same word.
Yeah.
Bye. This is just yammering.